Hey everyone, my name is Ryan Homan. I am the director and one of the founders of Lady Falcons Elite Hoops. We have our first games this weekend, and we're super excited to get the season started. Before we do that, we do have some ground to cover. We have some things that we need to make sure that everybody is, 100% aware of, so that we can provide what we think is the best basketball playing experience for the girls in our community. And so, hope that you tune in here and. I'm going to get through this as much as I can and as quickly as I can. So here we go. Um, First week. So first week, obviously, there's a lot of excitement revolving around the fact that we have our first games this weekend. A lot of things come together with this. Tomorrow, which is Friday, we will be really just going crazy trying to get jerseys and things like that ready. With a quick turnaround and with supply chain stuff the way that it is, it's always a mad dash and a mad rush to get jerseys together. So bear with us tomorrow as we do that. Our team will be hard at work tonight, tomorrow, just getting all that stuff ready. We have close to 700 jerseys that we need to sort and get ready to go. So it's definitely a lot of work, and we are super appreciative to all the people who help out with that. As you prepare for your first game and get ready here, it's for some of your girls, it's going to be the first game that they ever play, which is just incredibly exciting for them. It's a great time to just set the tone for your child for the entire season. Just remind them what this is all about, and what it's all about for us is just improving. This is all about development. We are a developmental league. We don't call ourselves a rec league. This is not for recreation purposes. We think this is for developmental purposes. That development is a development that we want to see both on the basketball court and just as human beings, as people also. And so, that's one of the things that we take very seriously. We are looking to develop not only our players, but our parents, our community. We're hoping to really fight this battle against what is a pretty toxic youth sports culture that I'll talk a little bit more about later. But there's probably going to be some nerves for your player as they look forward to their first game. I think it's a good time to let them know that the expectations for them are that they do their very best, and that they have a good time, and that they are a good teammate, and that they are just kind of a good friend to the people who they're just starting to get to know a little bit, and establish that they're going to play at least half of the game, at least one quarter in the first half and one quarter in the second half. They might play another quarter outside of that if their team is short players that week. So you might play upwards of you might play three quarters, but you'll definitely play at least one quarter in each one of the halves. Remind them that when they're not playing, their role is still very significant as a teammate, someone who's cheering on their teammate, who's watching the game. There's a lot that can be learned by watching the game. A lot of our players who are playing for the first time could really use to watch more basketball. It definitely helps with that basketball IQ and understanding, and it definitely helps to watch what's going on when you're sitting on the bench, so that when you get on the floor, you can execute and do things that maybe you didn't think that were possible for you to do. Remind your kids that it's going to be a physical game every single time that they step on the basketball court. The game is physical. It's just the way that it is, and so remind them that people who are hitting them and touching them, it's not personal. It's just part of the game, and it's better for them to just accept it and to understand that they're going to be physical. Also, they're likely going to foul people. They're going to hit people. We have players who have never played for the first time who get called for fouls and cry sometimes because they're upset, because they feel like people are going to be mad at them. It's part of the game, and it's one of those things where, as you look forward to the first week, just try to remind them, like, it's going to be tough. Like, people are not going to just let you get your way out there, and that's a great life lesson for them to be able to deal with that adversity and to handle that. Obviously, our referees and our coaches and our league officials are there to make sure that things don't get too rough and too out of hand. But it's good to set the stage for them and let them know that it's going to be physical. Also, we talk a lot of times about controlling the controllables. Control the things that you can control. You can't control if the other team has a player who's really, really good, who your team just can't stop. You can't control any of that. But what you can control, and one of the things that I always impress upon all the teams that I coach, is you definitely can control how hard you play. And so your effort and giving your best to your teammates and to your coaches and representing yourself out there as best you can by playing really hard is one of the most important things that they can learn to do. So whether it's in the classroom or wherever they may be, their effort is going to be something that they're asked for. And when you give it, that's when, even if you lose the game at the end of the game, if you feel like you played as hard as you could and you left it all out on the floor, you can live with that. You can live with the results. The other thing that they can control is how they respond to adversity. This is important because it's modeled by you. If things start to go south and they start to detect from you in the crowd that you're not happy, that will negatively impact the way that they react to the situation. So, just be very mindful of your role. We're going to talk a lot more about your role here as a parent, as a sports parent now, and just remind them like they don't have control over situations a lot of times. This is true in basketball. This is true in life. Everything is about the way that you respond to negativity and respond to things that are happening, whether it's good, whether it's bad. It's all about your response. We have what's called a next play philosophy here. We took that from Jay Billis. If you see behind me on the wall in my classroom at William Penn are all the tenets of what's called Toughness, the book by Jay Billis, which is one of the things that was very influential for me, and I would certainly recommend in terms of reading if you want to just get a good sense of what sports are all about and what they're supposed to be all about. Whatever's happening on the floor, it's important that we get on to the next thing, that we make the next play. We can't let the last play impact the next play. So one of the things that we like to be able to tell parents to tell their kids as they cheer them on and things like that is, next play, next play. Forget about that, and we're on to the next thing. We can't let what just happened impact what happens next. For your first game, you're going to get uniforms distributed. So if you could arrive 15 to 20 minutes early, that would be great. It's a great opportunity for you once they get their jerseys to take first game pictures and things like that. Once the game ends, we kind of ask you to just get a move on because we have another game that we need to get in. So any of those, first game pictures and things like that, those photo ops, try to take care of those before the game starts. That way, you're not scrambling and trying to get those squeezed in at the end, and then you end up in people's way and things like that. Be mindful of the game that's going on when you walk in the gym. There's almost certainly going to be a game happening before yours, unless you play the first game of the day. There are games from 8 a or from 9 a.m. all the way through 4 p.m. And those games are scheduled every hour on the hour. So it's really important that we get games in and start games on time. We'll ask coaches to make sure that their team is ready to go, that they can take the bench as soon as the buzzer sounds to end the last game. We want to be able to take the bench and start warm-ups. A big thing that we ask you, and this is kind of like counterintuitive because this is a basketball league, no basketballs on game days, no basketballs. The coach will be asked to bring a basketball for their team. We also provide game balls and things like that. We have a basketball for them to warm up with. Other than that, there should be no basketballs that are brought. Siblings are not allowed to bring basketballs. Younger brothers and sisters, anybody else who comes to our gyms, leave the basketball in the car. You do not need it. We will have a basketball there for your team to warm up, and that's really the only one that needs to be bouncing in the gyms. All right. During the game, listen, this is really, really serious to us and something that are kind of non-negotiables for us. Start with the premise that youth sports is broken. It's a toxic environment a lot of times. I spend almost every single one of my weekends throughout most of the year in the gym, and you see it constantly. The culture and the environment in which kids play and in which they've grown up playing is broken. It's not positive, and there's really a lot of things that go on and a lot of entitlement that most of the adults have about what they think their role is that causes a lot of confusion and a lot of issues with kids who are attempting to have a good time and learning a lot playing sports. So we ask that you help us to fight that, and we're really trying to do our job in our community to fight back a lot of the negativity that exists surrounding youth sports culture, especially basketball, as basketball is very loud. It's in a contained area, and so there's a lot of things that can go wrong. Non-negotiables for us. These are things that if you are unable to adhere to these policies, we will gladly refund you your money, and you can find someplace else where you're allowed to do these things. But they're simply not allowed in LFE, and we try our best to not tolerate them and to address them when we see these things happening. We would also encourage you that if you are bold enough to speak out because you see these things are happening, or you feel like there's an ongoing issue, to please let us know so that we can address it. But here are some of the things that we are looking for. You are not allowed at any time during any game to coach your child from the stands. I wrote an email a couple weeks ago as we started practices where we strongly advise parents to not stay at practices because of a similar situation that is caused at practices by parents staying there. Understand that when your player is playing, they are under the care of their coach. If you wanted to coach them, you had every opportunity to do so. You could have volunteered and helped us out by coaching. I understand that people will then say, well, I can't do that because of my work schedule. Understood. Understood. I totally get that. But because you're in the position of a fan and not a coach, at that point, we're going to ask you to do what fans do and not what coaches do. You have to understand what an incredibly awful situation you put your child in when you coach them from the stands. And when there are multiple people in the stands who are coaching all the players from the stands, the situation is even worse. I always tell this story. I was reffing a second and third grade game probably 6 years ago. Second and third grader gave up her dribble just over midcourt. She's about 30 or so feet from the basket. And a chorus of people just started yelling, pass it, shoot it, and shoot it. She's 30 feet from the basket. She's 3 feet tall. There's no chance that the ball is getting there. People telling her to dribble. This girl knew that she was not allowed to dribble because she had already picked up her dribble. Pass it, screaming at her. She did none of the things that she was told to do by the crowd. Instead, she clamshelled the ball like this. She put her head down and she cried hysterically. And I went over to her and I'm like, what's up? What's going on? Just trying to kind of get a sense of what was going on. And she looked at me, and again, I'll never forget her face. Everyone's yelling at me. Everyone's yelling at me. Again, you have to understand that whether you're 7 or whether you're 17, if you're a child, you want to make the adults in your life happy. And when they're yelling at you, whether it's on the court or whether it's in the classroom or wherever it may be, it creates a level of stress that is simply unfair when these kids are just trying to enjoy their basketball playing experience. A lot of times, also, what the fans are yelling is in direct conflict with what the coach is yelling. So you have a situation where my dad is yelling this and my coach is yelling that. I want both of them to be happy with me. I want both of them to be, to be proud of me. I want to make both of them, as satisfied as possible. What do? You create a power struggle that is really unfair to your kids. And I'm going to ask you again and again and again during the course of the year to please not coach your kids from the stands, because it just creates a very, very, very anxious and high stress environment for kids, which is just completely unfair to them. Like I said, this does not stop when they're in middle school and high school. This is not something that we tell our, just our 2, 3 parents or our 4 or 5 parents. We tell everybody this. You may not coach them from the stands. No disrespect. Many of you don't know a whole lot about basketball. And because you don't know a whole lot about basketball, you're really in no position to be giving coaching advice. That's the job of the coach, the person who volunteered and who's been speaking into their basketball life. Let them do their job, please. If you want to know what you can do, support every single child that's on the floor. All right. Again, I'm going to continue to use the word child and children just to reinforce this idea that the people that we're talking about who are negatively impacted by the adult behavior in the gym are children. They are little kids. Again, whether they're 7 or 17, they're kids, they're children. So you have to just be mindful of just the tension and the stress that they're under. Cheer for everyone. We value what we call cooperative competition around here. We ask all coaches to coach everyone, and all spectators to cheer for everyone, and to value the experience of every single child who's on the floor. Every single kid will be impacted by the events of the game that they play on Saturday. We can make sure that they have a great experience by making that experience as positive as possible, and you do that by actively doing what fans are supposed to do. They cheer. One of the greatest, I think, misconceptions in the whole entire world is what it is that a fan gets to do. Many people who go to professional sporting events feel like it's okay for them to abuse the opposing team and the opposing players because, oh, we paid money to be here. Listen, the price of your ticket does not buy you the ability to be disrespectful. That's completely ridiculous and antisocial, in my opinion. So praise the efforts of all these kids. They're going to try to do things that they can't do. When you see it and you realize, oh man, that was such a good idea. It didn't work out, but you should tell, hey, great idea. That's a great idea. Good job. Be encouraging to the kids. They're in a high stress environment and they are trying to please everyone. So we need to hear your voice and we need to hear it loud. But that voice should not be giving instructions. It should be giving praise and giving encouragement and helping them to feel good about what it is that they're doing. The next one here, obviously, is a really difficult one. You're simply not allowed to challenge or complain about referees' calls. It's unacceptable. Again, just because you paid your registration fee, it does not give you the right to question calls or openly disrespect our officials. To be honest with you, we don't have enough officials. And if you are in a position where you know enough about the game and you have the availability to help us, I would love to hear from you because we are in constant need of refs. Not to mention the fact that last year we had two referees quit during the season due to the abuse that they took from either coaches or spectators. Unacceptable. Just completely unacceptable. There's absolutely no reason for it. I assure you that I know every single one of our referees, and every single one of them is a fantastic human being. And what they want more than anything is to do a good job. They want to do a good job so that the game is fair and so that the game is well done. They're tasked with a really difficult job to control these games and to referee the games in a fair way. We have players that are at wildly different skill levels. The game is officiated differently for everybody. I'll be honest with you. Some girls will get away with traveling because it's their first year playing basketball. Some girls who are more experienced basketball players will not get away with traveling. We have specific rules for each one of our divisions. It's important that you know those rules because a lot of the issues that we come across are issues where people just don't know the rules. And so what you're complaining about are things that you don't know about. And again, this sets a really negative tone. It sets a really negative example. And I'll remind you also that the people who are wearing the zebra stripes, like they're people, they have families. They would love to be with them on a Saturday afternoon, and they're giving up that time so that your child has an opportunity to play basketball. And I think it's really important that you respect that and that you respect them. As a father, I don't want to set a tone in my family where I show that to my kids that it's okay to openly disrespect adults, that that it's okay to openly question the authority of somebody who's in charge of a situation. And I don't want my kids to ever think that that's okay. And if they see that from me, then they're going to do that in their lives, not only with the referees, but with their teachers potentially, with you. And that's just not a tone that I'm willing to set, and not a precedent that I'm willing to set with my kids individually. As a fan, you're never to address anybody who's on the floor unless it's in a friendly way. If you want to be friendly with a referee and kind of joke with them, our referees are, like I said, they're all awesome people. They've all been doing this for a while, and they have good relationships with our fans. That's what you should be doing. You should be fostering good relationships with the people who you run into, because you're going to see these people every week. Michael or Nicholas. And so we ask you to please just not address those people. And if you need to address them quietly and kindly. Other just considerations during the game. You're responsible for making sure that everybody who comes into the gym knows what our rules and conduct are. The thing that I just shared on the last slide, that needs to be shared with everyone who comes. If you have aunts and uncles and friends and grandparents and things like that who come to the gym, you need to make sure that they understand what the rules are. This league is not like other leagues. It is not a free for all. You're not allowed to just come in and act however you want to act. We have very high standards for conduct, and we need to make sure that everybody who comes knows. We've had issues at our different leagues, whether it's summer league or whether it's the winter league, where we have friends of family come and they're expecting to be able to do the same thing that they do other places. You yell at the ref and you get on the kids and you coach the kids from the stands. Not here. Not here. It's just not what we do here. And so you need to make sure that you let people know. I made a kind of a joke in my bullet points here. I don't want to have to toss grandpa. I don't. I don't. But I will. And I have. And so, these are not things that bring me joy to talk about, but these experiences that we have as directors here lead us to have to take strong stances on things. And these are things that I'm going to ask you to do to make sure that everybody is aware of what's going on and what the standards are here. And to be honest with you, there's nothing in the rules that say that you have to be at your kids' games. And I'll be honest with you, I emptied the entire gym at Eleanor Roosevelt a couple years ago because the parents simply could not stop coaching their kids from the stands. I asked everybody to leave. Some people were upset. I don't care. I really don't care, because my main priority, my primary concern is with your daughters. This is about your girls. And we want to make sure that everybody's on the same page and everybody knows what the expectations are when they walk in the door to an LFE hoops basketball game, that there are certain standards that you have to uphold. If you're unable to handle the experience, if you're unable to watch your kids, I realize that there are people who are hyper competitive. And if it's too much for you, you may not be able to attend. I've had to have this conversation with my own father, who's really, really, really competitive. As the person who writes the emails and has all these standards, everybody is expected to uphold these standards. And we ask you, just for your cooperation with that, because if we don't get it, there's a chance that you may not get to watch your kids play, and I would hate for that to happen. And there also is a chance that we refund you your money and ask you to go someplace where you can abuse referees and where you can coach your kids from the stands. It's just not going to happen here. Um, Timeouts and between quarters and halftime are not a time for the spectators to get shots up. That's not what it's about. If you were listening previously, you're not supposed to bring a ball anyway. And so if you don't have a ball, then there's really no opportunity for you. We're not trying to make this like the no fun league. That's not what it's about. But while the game is in progress and while the girls are playing, we want the focus to be on those girls who are playing. It's all about them. This is their time to shine. It's not time for little brother to get his shots up. It's not time for little brother to get his little workout in. It's just not time for that. The fact of the matter is that the girls are supposed to be listening to their coach as their coach is delivering instruction. Balls bouncing in the gym and other things happening is very distracting. And again, we don't want to take the spotlight off of them. We want the spotlight to be right on the people who it's supposed to be on, the girls who are playing the game. All right. So we ask you for your cooperation with that. All right. It's one of those things that I impress upon the referees. There shouldn't be other basketballs in the gym. So there shouldn't be anybody shooting. And that shouldn't really be a difficult thing to follow. The next piece is if you bring your siblings and other kids to the gym, you must supervise them at all times. Our gym time is contingent upon our treatment of the buildings. We've had situations where on Saturdays we've had siblings roaming the hallways, destroying property in the schools, and honestly, it is too big of a risk to have any of that stuff going on. We ask you again that if you see anybody who's not supervising their kids, or if you see kids who are not supervised, even if they're not your kids, there was a day and age when everybody parented everybody's kids. All right. LFE is very old school. So we want you to do the old school thing, which is if you see kids out in the hallway running around and nobody is supervising them, speak to those kids. Tell them that they need to go and find their parents because they are not allowed to be in the hallways by themselves. All right. If your kids are a handful and you don't want to have to deal with them while you're trying to watch your other kid play, leave them home. Leave them home. Make arrangements for them to do other things. But we can't have kids roaming the halls. Obviously, no basketballs are allowed in the halls. There should be no bouncing of balls anywhere. Our custodial staff should not have to be policing kids in the hallway. They're doing enough by letting us in the gym and taking care of all the things that we leave behind. So we're not going to ask them to do one more thing. If an issue arises during the game, please, we ask you to just protect the environment for the kids. The most important thing is that the experience is a great experience. We don't want kids to be spooked by negative experiences that they have. Listen, I've been in the gym where there has been fights. I've been in the gym where there has been a stampede incident. My daughters and I were at Spooky Nook. There was a fight. Somebody believed that a gun went off. We had to evacuate the building in full sprint. So I've been in pretty much every negative experience, every negative environment that you could possibly be in as a youth sports parent and as a youth sports coach. The most important thing is that you protect that environment. That should be an environment that feels incredibly safe to them and feels like home and feels like a place where they can just go and show off their skills. If you feel the need to address an issue, we're going to ask you to use what we call the 24-hour rule. All right. Please don't address it right then and there. If you feel like it needs to be addressed right then and there, you need to do so quietly and in a respectful manner. If you can't do that, please adhere to the 24-hour rule and wait. If you are as fired up about it and as upset about it as you were in the moment, like 24 hours later, then I need to know. My email is the name of the organization, Lady Falcons Elite Hoops at Gmail. Please, I want to know everything. I want to know everything that goes on. And so if there's a negative experience that happens, something bad that's going on, please reach out. I may forward that email to a division director or to another director, depending on what it is, but I need to know, because if I don't know what negative things are happening, then we can't address them, right? And in the meantime, protect that environment, protect the environment for the kids. Um, after the game, just be mindful that there's other games. So we ask you to please stay off the playing surface. The girls will come to you. Visit with family and friends in the hallway and the lobby if you want to take some more pictures. I understand that the backdrop of the basket is the best one, but do that before the game, because after the game ends, the next group of kids is coming on, and we need to make sure that we're on schedule and that we're ready to go. All right, we have our gym time for a limited amount of time, and we squeeze as many games as we can in because we want to be able to squeeze as many girls into the program as we can. Thank yous and goodbyes are always appreciated. You're going to see the same people every week. Thank your coaches, thank your refs, thank your scorers. Those things go a long way to creating a great environment. It also models incredible manners to your kids and shows them that, like, yeah, when people provide things for you, when people do things for you, and they support you and they help you, they probably deserve a thank you. So that's a tone that we want to set in the gym also, where everybody is just thankful and respectful and things like that. Please be careful on the ride home. This is not a time to break down the game and analyze the game. What we suggest you do is let them talk. Ask them if they want to talk about it. See what they have to say. This certainly isn't a time for you to critique your coach or the players on your team or anything like that. Again, positive, positive, positive. Focus on the positives. There's always something to learn, and there's always something to be gained from every game, whether it was a tough game that you get blown out in, or whether it's a game that you have a really good game. There's always something to gain from it. So I put the idea of frame the game. Frame the game means, again, and no matter what negative happened during the game, there's a positive that you can take from it. You have an incredible opportunity to enhance your child's experience here. It's important that you mentor them. As a seventh grade teacher here, we get kids in middle school, and it's always disheartening to us because we realize many kids have not been mentored. They haven't had tough conversations. They haven't had to deal with adversity. They haven't had to face something that was tough and say, you know what? Yeah, it's tough. That's okay though. Tough is good. Tough is good. Kara Lawson, who is the new head coach at Duke women's basketball, has a great video on YouTube with her talking to her team about we need to learn how to handle hard better. Things are going to be hard. We have to learn how to handle those things better. And you have an incredible opportunity as a youth sports parent to be able to manage the situation for your kids. Don't throw anybody under the bus. Don't throw your coach under the bus. Don't throw the refs under the bus. Don't throw your kids' teammates under the bus. It's always about development and getting better. And the truth of the matter is that you win or you learn. You win the game, great, go home feeling good about it. You lose the game, you learn a lot from it. So I think winning is very overrated. People chase winning as a goal. I just think it's overrated. It's just not. It's not the goal of LFE hoops. It's not why we're here. We tell our coaches at the coaches meeting that if they're really after an LFE championship trophy, I'll order you one. They cost $6.95. Like, I'll order one. If you need one and if you want one, if it's about winning for you, I'll order you a trophy. That's fine with me. But the truth is that in every experience that I've had, the teams that have had some of the best experiences are the teams that lose early and often, and their parents handle it the right way, and their parents don't place blame, and they just encourage their kids to keep working, to keep at it, to handle that adversity, and that's how kids grow up. And that's really what this is all about here. Yeah, basketball is awesome. I love basketball. It's one of my favorite things in the whole entire world. But what I love most is helping people develop, helping people grow, and helping people become better people. That's really what this league is about. It's basketball is just the way that we go about doing it. It's just a conduit in that way. Just some final thoughts. This is about the girls. In every experience that I've ever had with youth sports, if you leave the girls alone and allow them to experience it for themselves, there won't be any problems. Parents tend to poison the situation. And much of your role here is to make sure that your daughter views this experience and shares this experience and views it the right way as an opportunity for growth, an opportunity to grow and develop as a human being. So focus on development, not results. Like a little bit better every game. That's what you're trying to do. A little better every practice. Like I said, almost every issue that I've ever encountered with youth sports is adult centered. So we ask you to be part of the solution here and not part of the problem. It's easy to find negative stuff. It's all in what you look for. If you look for the negatives, you'll find negatives. Is this league perfect? Far from it. Absolutely not. It's pretty good though. It's pretty good though, and I would challenge you to find a better situation for your kids. So we really encourage you to be a part of the solution here and partner with us to really make this a great thing. And lastly, enjoy it. My kids are getting older. My kids are 11 and 14, and I realize there's only so much time left. There's only so much time left, and enjoy it while it lasts. And it's really, really, really fun to watch your kids flourish and grow and develop because of this. This sport has led to so many incredible conversations. Yeah, there's a ton of hurt. There's a lot of hurt that has come from basketball in my family and in my life. But hey, it's just part of our story. It's just part of our story, and it's really, really great. I have a lot of great memories that are attached to this league and attached to my girls playing sports, and I hope that the same thing happens for you. So, honestly, You steer the ship, folks. Your experience will be driven by the way that you handle the bits of adversity that you have, the bits of success that you have. So, no pressure. Listen, on behalf of everybody here at LFE Hoops, everybody who works behind the scenes to get all this stuff together and ready to go, we hope that you have a fantastic first week of games. That's a lot of information to chew on. If you have any questions or concerns with anything that we have, if you feel like what we're asking is too much, feel free to reach out. I would love to talk to it more, or talk more about it, and kind of share more of our philosophy, because there's honestly, that's a pretty long video that you just watched. There's so much more. There's so much more to it than that. So, hey, have a great weekend, and post those pictures. Post those pictures online, and tag LFE in them. We want to see those pictures, and we want to see smiling faces of girls playing hoops. It's our pleasure. It's our pleasure. So have a great weekend, and catch you later.